Deep within the royal archives of Denmark lies a collection of documents that challenge everything historians thought they knew about medieval succession practices. What began as research into Hans Christian Andersen's beloved fairy tale has uncovered evidence of ritualistic trials that determined royal bloodlines through methods far more disturbing than a simple pee beneath mattresses. But before we start, subscribe to follow our investigations into darkness. It was late autumn of 1834 when Hans Christian Andersen first encountered the elderly woman in the archives beneath Rosenborg Castle. The Danish storyteller had come seeking inspiration for children's tales, but what he discovered would haunt him for decades. The woman, who identified herself only as keeper of the royal tests, presented him with a leather-bound manuscript that documented centuries of succession trials conducted in absolute secrecy. The manuscript, written in archaic Danish mixed with Latin phrases, detailed a practice known as the sensibility trials. These were not the whimsical tests of Andersen's later story, but brutal examinations designed to identify individuals possessing what the document called the royal sensitivity, an alleged supernatural ability to perceive threats to the kingdom through physical discomfort. According to the records, the trials began in the 13th century when King Valdemar II established a secret chamber beneath the castle. The room, described as circular with walls of rough-hewn stone, contained a single bed constructed from iron and wood. The mattresses were not filled with feathers or straw, but with a mixture of human hair collected from executed criminals and soil taken from battlefields where Danish soldiers had died. The trials followed a precise ritual. Potential heirs, both legitimate and bastard children of nobility, would be brought to the chamber during the new moon. They would be required to sleep upon the bed for 3 consecutive nights, while various objects were placed beneath the mattresses. The manuscript lists dozens of items used over the centuries, each more disturbing than the last. The initial tests involved simple objects, coins, stones, pieces of metal, but as the centuries progressed, the items became increasingly macabre. Fragments of bone from defeated enemies, dried organs from plague victims, and small carved figurines made from substances the manuscript describes only as the essence of royal suffering. What makes these records particularly unsettling is their meticulous documentation of results. Each candidate's reactions were recorded in precise detail, including their sleep patterns, physical movements, and any words spoken during the night. The scribes noted temperature fluctuations in the chamber, unusual sounds from within the walls, and strange odors that would sometimes permeate the room during the trials. The most successful candidates, those deemed to possess true royal sensitivity, displayed reactions that went beyond normal discomfort. They would speak in their sleep, reciting names of future threats to the kingdom or describing military tactics that would not be developed for decades. Some candidates would wake with physical marks on their bodies that corresponded to the shape of objects placed beneath the mattresses, despite the thick layers of material that should have prevented such impressions. The manuscript contains detailed sketches of these marks, showing intricate patterns that seem to shift and change when viewed from different angles. Modern analysis of these drawings reveals mathematical sequences that would not be discovered until the 20th century, suggesting either remarkable foresight or something far more inexplicable at work. Perhaps most disturbing are the records of failed candidates. Those who showed no sensitivity to the objects were not simply dismissed from consideration. The manuscript describes a secondary chamber, accessible only through a hidden passage behind the main testing room. Failed candidates would be taken to this space for what the documents call the final assessment. The details of these final assessments are partially obscured by water damage and deliberate scratching out of text, but fragments remain. References to the awakening of dormant blood and the price of insufficient sensitivity suggest procedures that went far beyond simple elimination from succession. Several entries mention candidates who emerged from the final assessment fundamentally changed, speaking in languages they had never learned and demonstrating knowledge of events that had not yet occurred. The trials continued for over 4 centuries, with the last documented case occurring in 1647. The final entry in the manuscript describes a candidate who not only passed the sensitivity test, but whose presence in the chamber caused the testing objects to physically transform. The pea used in this final trial, originally described as dried and brown, allegedly began to sprout and grow during the night, its roots extending through the mattresses and into the stone floor below. When Hans Christian Andersen inquired about this final candidate, the keeper of the royal tests showed him a separate document bearing the royal seal. The parchment contained a single line in Latin, followed by a drawing of a plant with roots that seemed to writhe and move on the page. The translation read, "The blood remembers what the mind forgets, and the kingdom shall know its true heir when the earth itself responds to royal suffering." Andersen left the archives that day with permission to create a sanitized version of the story for children, but the original manuscript disappeared shortly after his visit. The keeper of the royal tests was found dead in the archives 3 days later, her body positioned as if she had been sleeping on the stone floor. The only unusual detail noted in the official report was the presence of a single pea plant growing through the cracks in the stone where she lay. Modern attempts to locate the testing chamber have proved unsuccessful. Ground-penetrating radar reveals hollow spaces beneath Rosenborg Castle, but every excavation attempt has been halted due to structural concerns or bureaucratic complications. The few archaeologists who have gained access to the lower levels report finding rooms that do not match the castle's architectural plans, including circular chambers with walls that appear to absorb sound completely. In 1973, renovation work in the castle's foundation uncovered a cache of objects wrapped in medieval cloth. The items matched descriptions from Andersen's notes about the manuscript, including carved figurines made from an unidentifiable black substance and coins bearing the faces of Danish kings, who never officially ruled. Carbon dating of the cloth produced impossible results, showing ages that varied by centuries depending on which section was tested. The most compelling evidence emerged in 2008, when construction workers installing new electrical systems discovered a hidden room behind a false wall. The chamber contained a single bed frame made of iron, surrounded by hundreds of small holes drilled into the stone floor. Each hole contained a different object: stones, bones, metal fragments, and organic matter in various states of preservation. At the center of the bed frame grew a single pea plant, its roots extending deep into the stone foundation. Despite the chamber being sealed for centuries with no access to light or water, the plant appeared healthy and showed signs of recent growth. Botanical analysis revealed genetic markers that do not match any known species of pea, suggesting either an unknown variety or something that defies conventional classification. The Discovery team reported experiencing unusual sensations while working in the chamber. Several workers complained of persistent discomfort, as if sleeping on uneven surfaces, despite standing on smooth stone floors. Others reported vivid dreams about medieval ceremonies and the sensation of being watched by unseen observers. The Danish government classified the discovery and sealed the chamber pending further investigation. The official report states that the room contains materials of potential historical significance requiring specialized analysis, but no further details have been released. The construction workers who made the discovery were reassigned to different projects, and their original supervisor retired unexpectedly shortly after the chamber was sealed. Recent genealogical research has revealed that several prominent Danish families possess bloodlines that trace back to candidates who underwent the sensibility trials. These individuals, when interviewed, report unusual sensitivity to their surroundings and frequent dreams about historical events they have never studied. Some describe persistent discomfort when sleeping in certain locations, as if detecting hidden objects beneath their beds. The most unsettling discovery came from analysis of Andersen's personal papers donated to the Royal Library after his death. Hidden within the margins of his manuscript drafts are tiny sketches that match the drawings from the medieval testing records. The sketches appear to have been drawn compulsively, often overlapping his written words, suggesting an obsession with details he claimed to have forgotten. What do you think really happened to those who failed the ancient trials? And could the mysterious pea plant still growing in the sealed chamber hold the key to understanding royal bloodlines? Subscribe to uncover more hidden truths that challenge everything we thought we knew about history.